All right, up for today's gear review, and if you notice, this is in a different location. And if you look real close, you'll see that I didn't dust. So, this is kind of my responsibility, and yeah, so that's what you get when I'm in charge of dusting this particular spot of the house. So we have my Sony PS-8750. I just released a service video along with a channel update. This video is being released early. I figure I put the service video out there, so I might as well put the gear review video out there. Super excited to have this turntable. This has been a grail turntable of mine. I haven't been actively pursuing picking one of these up, but as I'm laying in bed at night, before I let my dogs out and then I go to sleep, I'm always looking at eBay for, stuff to pick up for the shop, or maybe a project for myself or something for the channel. And this turntable popped up, and it had been out there for a while. And when I explain pricing, I'll kind of, I'll spoiler alert. I'll not spoiler alert, but kind of a teaser. I will let you know how much I paid for this. But this one was out there, and again, it was a night where I had a couple of cocktails, and I thought I'm going to make a kind of a low offer on this, and my offer was accepted. So it was one of those things where if the seller would not have accepted the offer, I would not have been heartbroken. And if they did accept, I would happily buy the turntable and cross my fingers that I could get it sorted out. And I was able to get it sorted out. You can watch the service video where I talk about that. You can also watch the service video regarding memberships to the channel. And I'll kind of give you the abridged version of that video. I have lots of content in the queue, 100 videos, 2 years worth. I release one video per week. I edit probably between, this week, for example, I have 6 videos, not including the Sony videos, that I'm editing for future release. So I would say I probably average 1 to 2 videos per week, probably more like 1 video per week. So anyway, and I just throw them out there, and it's 2025 now. It's March 2025. I have videos all the way that are queued up all the way through January, February 2027. So anyway, if you're interested in seeing some of those videos that are kind of waiting to be released, the membership, I think I set it at $2.99 a month. You can go out there and become a member, and you have access to all of those videos plus any video that I release real time. So enough about that. This is the last you're going to hear about memberships for the channel. So here we have the mighty Sony PS-8750, my grail turntable. These were manufactured, and I don't know that I would. I'm real confident in the last year that these were sold or manufactured. Vinyl Engine says 1975 to 1978. I could not find this turntable listed in any 1978 product brochure or catalog. So I'm thinking this was more of a 75 to 77 turntable. The functions, it's auto lift at the end, so it's not fully auto, but the tone arm will lift up and return to the tone arm stand at the end of the record. And then it will shut itself off. It's a direct drive servo controlled plus quartz lock. It's a heavy turntable. The dimensions were flashed, but it's not like super huge. This is actually replacing a Denon DP59L that was in the spot, and this is a much smaller turntable than that Denon was. As far as the series information goes, it gets kind of confusing. So I'm gonna call this a part of the consumer grade series. Because the true top of the line turntable for at least probably the last year that this was sold was the Sony PSX9. There were only like 2,000 of those made. It's a professional grade turntable. It's ginormous. It weighs like 70 pounds. I mean, who wouldn't love to come across one of those, right? But they're super rare. They cost about $5,000 to $6,000. I don't know, it's kind of like the 1980 for Pioneer, right? When I'm talking top of the line, yes, the 1980 was the top of the line, but so few people can or probably in the day could afford that. The 1280 is kind of the working person top of the line. So this 8750 is kind of the working person top of the line, although they are expensive turntables. You also had the Sony TTS-8000, which was just the drive, right? Just the turntable drive, and then you could put it in a plinth and pick your own tone arm. So, you know, again, this was more of the consumer grade. That TTS-8000 is kind of the audiophile, and then you have the Sony PSX9 as like the professional, right? The professional sitting in a radio station type turntable. So I'm gonna call this top of the line for the years that it was released. I pulled a 1976 product catalog. So the other turntables that were listed in that catalog, right? And I'm gonna call them we had a couple of different series going on at that point in time. We had the 50 series, and I'll get to the models for that in a second. We've got the 300 series, the 700 series, and then we had the Sony PS-1100, and they must have just sold that turntable forever. I actually have a Sony PS-1100. I think I re-veneered the plinth and I did some work on it early days of the channel. So I'll include a screenshot of that video so you can see it. But I would say the 50 series was the top of the line series, although it gets kind of muddy because the 43 or the 100, the 300 series and the 700 series, I mean, they had their own kind of top of the line, right, for that kind of sub series. So in the 50 series, you had the 8750, you had the 6750, which I would also love to get a 6750. It's basically the 8750 without the automatic return, from what I understand. I don't remember if it's quartz lock or not. I'll flash some images up of the 6750. I'll see if I can find some definitive information about that one. You also had the 4750 and the 3750. Those are pretty easy to find. You can find 3750s and 4750s all day long. 6750s are unicorns. The 8750s, you can actually find those on eBay pretty easily. Then you had the 4300, 3300, right? They were kind of their own thing. Those were kind of mid-tier, mid-grade turntables. The 2700 and 1700, and then you had the entry-level 1100. Now the 3750, the 1700, they were kind of similar turntables as well. So again, it gets kind of muddy, but at the top of the heap, the 8750. Aesthetics, I'm going to make a bold statement. I think this is the best looking turntable ever. Now I do suffer from, recent acquisition syndrome. So whatever I just picked up, is always the best and the most beautiful. But again, I have wanted one of these for a long, long, long time, and my opinion of the table has not changed. Denon DP59L, beautiful turntable. Denon DP60L, I've got one of each of those, right? They're both beautiful turntables in their own right, but there's something about this turntable, because it's so different looking, that I really, really like. Plus, I have it in my basement with my Macintosh gear, and it really kind of complements, right, the aesthetic that I have going. You can kind of see my preamp down there. So it's, black and silver. This is a little bit of a gray finish on the bottom, but it just fits what I have going on down here. And I'm one of those goofy guys where I like my stuff to kind of look like it belongs together, right? So, but that's just me. So I think it's the best looking turntable I've ever seen, right? That's just my opinion. Operation for this thing is really easy. I'll take you through. Now, I normally don't talk about tone arm setup in my gear review videos. This tone arm, it's a audiophile quality tone arm. So setup isn't super intuitive. I'm not going to go through the setup on this, but this isn't just throw a cartridge on it and hit start and then you're good to go. There's quite a bit of setup for the tone arm. And it uses was this sapphire bearings or something crazy like that in here, and you got all these adjustments. It does have vertical tracking adjustments, so VTA. on it. But I kind of got off track here. Let me get going with how easy this is. So this will also be the features and the functions and how easy this is to operate. So, first we have a power button over here to the right. I keep this, because I've been working on it, I have this little twist tie there. And then I have a Grado Prestige 8MZ on this. I'm trying to figure out the best cartridge to use. I know I'm going on kind of a little bit of a tangent, but this came with a Denon DL301. I don't have a transformer. I just picked one up, so I may run that one. Right now I've got my Grado 8MZ on here. That's a phenomenal cartridge. I was thinking about putting a Shure on here or one of my Stantons, but I really like the sound of the Grado, and which is odd because I'm not a big Grado person, but I did a head-to-head on another turntable, and the 8MZ actually was the best sounding cartridge for whatever turntable that was at that point in time. So I was kind of shocked by that. So anyway, because people always ask, like, what are you running on your stuff? So power button, right? Light comes on. The service video goes into the pain in the butt that whole light thing was. You have a start stop. Now this is only auto return, so when you hit start, it's just going to start the turntable. One thing you have to keep in mind is when it auto returns, your tone arm elevator, right, is going to be in the down position. So before you just hit start and move the tone arm over, you want to make sure you move the elevator up, and then you put it in position and you hit start, and this thing speeds up just like a Technics SL1200. I mean, it hits speed instantly. There's a reject button. It also auto senses at the end of the record. Just ignore my little dust sweeper there. At the end of the record, it will pick up and it will automatically return, or you can hit reject and it will come all the way over to the, there it goes. It's just a little bit slow. Hit reject and it will stop and it will come all the way over to the tone arm stand. You have a crystal lock, so you have quartz and you have manual pitch control. Right? So I want to show you what's really cool about this. A lot of times if you go between quartz lock and manual pitch, you get a little bit of a hiccup. I'm sure this is going to make a liar out of me today, but normally on this one, if I go between quartz lock and pitch control, manual pitch control, there's no change in speed. You guys can see the strobe right there, no change in speed. Right? So that's kind of cool. We also have the strobe, right? And then the little strobe markings on the side, manual pitch controls for 33 and 45. This is where you select your speed. This came with the 45 adapter, and it also came with the little tiny VTA wrench, which is really neat. So this was really complete when I got it. The dust covers, completely blemish free. So as you can see, using this was super simple. This is a bring your own cables, right? BYOC turntable. So you bring your own cables to the turntable. This does not have RCA cables wired in, so that makes it nice. And then the same is true with the ground wire. So, hooking it up, using it other than setting up the carbon fiber tone arm, which I meant to mention this earlier, but I don't know who else was using a carbon fiber tone arm in 1975. So I would like to give Sony credit for that innovation. I don't know if they were the first. I don't know if Pioneer or Denon or someone else was using carbon fiber, but this is a carbon fiber tone arm wand. And if I can figure out who started the carbon fiber thing, I will include that in the video. But I think that was probably, at least for a consumer grade table, that was probably they were probably one of the first companies, because Sony. I like Sony gear. I think Sony was fairly innovative. So anyway, operation's easy, hookup's easy, setting up the tone arm a little bit more difficult. Serviceability, I would say this is an intermediate table. I could almost go that a novice could maybe figure some of the stuff out on this, right? I consider myself like an early intermediate or an intermediate tech, because this is just a hobby and I have no formal training. And if you watch my videos, you know that to be true. So I would say that me getting this sorted out was not too tricky. It was time consuming because of the nature of the design and the one particular board I had an issue with, and you can watch the service video to see exactly what that means. But it wasn't it wasn't all that difficult to figure out. So, you know, naturally your mileage may vary. Common issues, I encountered them on this. So all but one of the common issues. So the common issues for this turntable, as you know, is true with any turntable from the mid 70s and before, and even, you know, maybe the early 80s and before. Grease hardens and it gets sticky and it turns to glue. So this had hardened grease. The tone arm, there is a belt for the tone arm motor, so naturally any belt that's 40, 50 years old likely to have an issue, whether it loses its elasticity or it just becomes misshapen and it no longer works. Solder joints on this one are a big one, and my service video talks about the issue with the solder joints. So watch that video to see exactly what a bad solder joint can do on a turntable like this. Out of spec caps, that was an issue on this table as well. And it was the last thing I checked. It should have been the first thing I checked. So I unnecessarily kind of chased my tail on this, right? What should have taken me less than an hour to sort out took me about 2, because in my mind I knew that I just couldn't have a bad capacitor, but indeed I had a bad capacitor. And then failing integrated circuit chips. So this does have ICs, and they can fail. You know, I think they're obtainable, maybe not easily obtainable, but I think they are more easily obtained than, say, some of the Pioneer chips on like a PL630, right? I think it's a PA 2005 or 2007 or something like that. Those chips are like unobtainium. Or some of the chips on some of the later Sony turntables like the PS-X65, X75, maybe the X70, right? Some of those other tables. So you have all of that to look forward to if you're thinking about picking one of these up. Some of those problems are also going to be shared with the 6750, possibly the 4750 and 3750, and other Sony turntables of this vintage. What would I look for, or what did I look for? What was I looking for when I was looking at picking one of these up? Number one, anymore, because I can, unless the piece of equipment has some really obscure part that you just can't find, right? For me anymore, it's cosmetic completeness and condition. Now for you, I would say you probably want to make sure there's not some real funky thing going on with this as far as the operational status goes. So it's kind of an operational status condition. For me, I'm biased towards the condition because I want it to look really, really nice. Like this thing looks like it's brand spanking new, right? So I kind of, you know, gear my search towards the cosmetic condition, and then I operate under the assumption that I can figure out what's going on with it. So operation and then condition. So condition or operational status means, you know, what is the speed doing? Does the tone arm move? Do the functions work here? Like exactly what's going? Does the platter spin backwards? Something crazy like that. You know, you want to make sure that you pay attention to those things. Condition of the dust cover. I think there's a company that makes an aftermarket dust cover. This dust cover is kind of unique in that it has these stripes across the top. I don't know if you can really see those in the video, but there's some stripes across there. It's a very well made dust cover. It's I mean it's not cheap by any stretch of the imagination. It's nice and thick. It seems like it has held up fairly well over the last 50-ish years. And then completeness. So the head shells on these can be expensive. This came with two really nice cartridges. The Grado, this didn't come with the Grado that's mine, but it came with a, what the heck was that? It's a Stanton quad. I think it was a Stanton 781 quad cartridge. I don't run quad, so it is of no use to me. I know someone who does, and I'm trying to pawn them off to that person. So head shells could be a big thing with this. So you want to make sure you get the right head shell. Again, it's a carbon fiber arm, so it's a low mass tone arm. So when you're matching cartridges to it, the Grado is probably not an ideal match for a low mass tone arm. I may put a Shure on it, but this Grado sounds really, really, really good on this tone arm. So anyway, your mileage may also vary with that. Prices on these. So this was the only sale in 90 days on eBay. Again, I've been looking at these for a long time. Every single listing out there right now, right? The sellers are asking $1,800 for these. I mean, it's almost to the penny, like $1,800. Might be plus $100 with shipping. Most of them are in Japan. Most of them are 100-volt units. This is a US spec, so it's 120. There's one that just went out last night. That's a US seller, and it's selling for like $1,850 with shipping. So I don't know that I can come up with categories. So I'm just going to be making this stuff up. I think if all of these sellers are asking $1,800 for this turntable, that might be the going price, but I'll be honest, I think that's a little bit high. Now, would I have been willing to pay $1,800, or was I willing to pay $1,800 for this because that's what the seller was asking? No, I did not pay $1,800 for this. There was a parts unit. Well, this was sold for parts not working too, but there was another one, and it was a pawn shop somewhere. They were selling on eBay. They had theirs down to, I think it was $1,300-ish. I tried to get them. I lowballed them. I tried to get them down to like less than $1,000, and they wouldn't budge. And they eventually did sell it, but it was in much worse condition than this. I offered $1,200, and the seller accepted. So I think I got, compared to what I've seen out there, I think I got a pretty good deal. Is it a smoking deal? No. Do I think that the turntables out there right now are worth $1,800? Most of them have issues, so I would say no. You're right. I think $1,800 for this one now. If I went and recapped it, and I haven't completely recapped everything, and I haven't calibrated everything, I haven't gone through the service manual to adjust everything on it. I will eventually, but I'm too excited. I just want to use it for a while. So if I dial this in and recapped it, with all the work I've done, I could see this one selling for $1,800, right? I think what I paid for this, considering that it was not working, I probably overpaid. At least I don't like to pay this much for a turntable that's not working. Now, I'll be honest with you. I sell things on eBay. Through the hobby, I have acquired a lot of gear, and I have repaired a lot of gear. So between my sales on eBay and some local sales and, some horse trading through the years, I had the money to buy it. I, again, normally don't like to spend that much on something, but this was an exception. So I think I probably should have paid less than $1,000 for this. I'm thinking the $800 to $900 mark, but I may be completely off. Again, I'm just completely going by what I'm comfortable spending on something like this. So, if this were completely redone and recapped and restored, $1,800, maybe more, I could totally see. For one that's being sold for parts less than $1,000, I think that's a good price. For one that's working, maybe it has a couple of issues, or one that is in pristine condition like this, right? That just has a couple of electronic issues to sort out. $1,200 I think is a decent price. Maybe $1,500. Again, it's kind of hard for me to kind of come up with something. Well, I mean, actually, $1,500 would be for one that's working that has some cosmetic issues. So I think that kind of would split the difference, $1,400, $1,500, something like that. But if I were to pick up another one of these, I would not spend more than $1,000 unless it's like this one and it's just in perfect condition and I can get it at a good price. The 6750, that's the one that has my eye now. I'm looking for one of those, and those hardly ever come up. There's one on eBay, but it looks like it was literally dragged behind a truck, and they want almost $600 for it. I gave them what I thought was a fair offer, and they declined it. But it's not even in the ballpark cosmetically, right? With this one, so yeah, I'm not going to overpay for one of those. I'll just patiently wait like I did for this one, and one will pop up eventually. So, but I mean, this is just a fantastic turntable. I I love this turntable. What reignited my interest, or maybe a better way to put it is what reactivated my search, was I rewatched a video by Liquid Audio where he went through an 8750 and restored it, and I watched that video and I was like, man, I gotta, I'm gonna find one of those. And then within 2 weeks, this one popped up, and like I said, I made a what I thought was a low offer and was accepted, and yeah, I couldn't be happier. Haven't played enough music on it yet. I've only listened to about 4 or 5 records on it, but it has been performing flawlessly since I repaired it. So that is my gear review on the Sony PS-8750. If you want to see what I did to get this thing up and running, check out the service video. Right, it was released a couple of days ago. Also, if you're interested in seeing some of the stuff I have in the queue, again, got a membership. Last time, I'm going to try to sell those in this video, so, or really in any video, because I don't want to be obnoxious that way. So I think I'm going to wrap it up for the Sony PS-8750. As always, if you like what you see, hit like, hit subscribe, and I will catch you all in the next video.